but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country.
U.S. President Joe Biden there making his first extensive remarks following the downing of 3 unidentified objects last weekend. Turns out they're likely not from China and they're likely not foreign surveillance devices. Here's a reminder of exactly what happened, the sequence of events. Nearly 2 weeks ago, on February 4th, the U.S. shot down a balloon over the coast of the Carolinas that it does believe to be a Chinese surveillance device after it had already flown over Canada. But then last Friday, an object was down off the Alaskan coast. Then on Saturday, the Prime Minister ordered Norad take down another object over central Yukon. And the last one was shot down by Norad over Lake Huron Sunday. The RCMP just announced that it has suspended the search for debris on Lake Huron. Let's get some more perspective now from all of these new developments from General Tom Lawson. He's the former Chief of Defense Staff for the Canadian Armed Forces and former Deputy Commander of NORAD. General Lawson is now the president of Thomas J. Lawson and Associates. Hi, General. Good to see you. Thank you very much for making the time.
Thanks, Vassy.
How significant is it from your perspective that these 3 latest objects, the president says now, the U.S. does not believe are tied to China?
Yeah, I don't think actually hugely significant. The politicians were being very moderate in their rhetoric regarding who owned objects 2 through 4. I think first and foremost, the first balloon, responsibility was taken by the Chinese for that, and more and more indication is it was a spy balloon, and it has alerted the Western world, certainly U.S. and Canada, to this program that we really didn't know anything about before. There was very little cost to taking down 2, 3, and 4.
And I certainly have some questions about the original balloon and the Chinese aspect to that. But I do want to ask about these 3 other objects, because having served in the capacity of former deputy commander of NORAD, you know what is entailed in making a decision to shoot down objects. I think for Canadians and Americans who watched that happen over last weekend, it was substantial. It was to take, something we took note of, that things were being shot out of the sky. Do you think that decision, in retrospect, made sense?
Well, certainly, and you're talking about objects 2 through 4. The first balloon, it really
Correct,
does
yes.
make sense to bring that down before it goes away.
Yes.
But for the other 3, it's a much different thing. This was down in the troposphere where most of our air traffic is. So right away, you have everything you need to take it down if you believe it is a threat to civil aviation. Now, whether or not they're going to continue to do that with floating junk through airways as they see it in coming months and years, we'll have to find out. But the reason to take it down is there. Whether or not the expense was entirely justified, that will be part of the forensics going ahead.
Do you think, based on the facts available to you at this moment, that there was some political context around that decision, given the blowback President Biden got for waiting as long as he did with the Chinese balloon?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, it is conceivable that if person number 1 in Montana hadn't looked up and seen this balloon up at 60,000 feet, the gig may never have been up, and this would have sailed up and perhaps out of North American airspace. It turns out NORAD was well aware of this balloon floating in days and weeks before it actually made it to continental North America. So after that, it became counter-espionage until it became clear to the average American and Canadian that something's up there and we don't like it.
And with objects 2, 3, and 4, though, do you think that there was, a sort of desire on the part of politicians to appear as though they were, taking action immediately in light of the criticism that Biden got with that first one?
Yeah, I think so. So the precedent was set with the first one. 2, 3, and 4, there's a little bit of concern that it may be tied to the same program. Don't really know. Now, more and more, it looks like these are North American provenance. They were launched from probably within North America. The idea of taking them down now does not look as strongly required. However, the precedent has been set, and NORAD has taken these balloons out as the elected officials have required of them, and they've stated something loud and clear to China, and that is any of your balloons anywhere in the world stomping on territory of sovereign countries, it's not okay. You're going to have to take that into your calculus.
Do you think that message delivered through shooting down the first balloon was, and not to make it a pun, but was deflated at all now that we know that the 3 subsequent objects were, likely not from China, not surveillance instruments?
No, I don't think so. I think China probably was wondering too. They were doing a lot of soul searching and checking the papers to see what other balloons did we lose out that we've lost control of. They're going to be somewhat relieved to hear that these weren't there. Everybody was being very circumspect in giving them responsibility for that anyway. But the point is there. North Americans largely haven't cared too much about China's activities in the South China Sea and threatening Taiwan, South Korea, Japan. It just wasn't close enough to North America. But all of these things are kind of part of the clumsy way China is growing into superpower status. And then with one balloon, the first balloon, everybody in Canada and the United States, North America, is aware of the nefarious activities that China may be involved in. And I think it may affect their calculus if indeed they're looking to warm relationships with the Western world and with democracies around the world for trade.
Yeah, my goodness, how complicated it gets. I'll note also President Biden said that he plans to speak with President Xi of China, so we'll stay on top of that one. Thanks very much, General Lawson. Appreciate your analysis as always.
Pleasure. Thanks, Vassy.